What happened to the rest? Only you, Brother Afdal?
Yes,
What happened to the rest? I don't know whether
maybe
on
a
the
bit
way, yeah?
late.
Okay, please write down your name in the chat section as a proof of attendance.
Okay.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. While waiting for your friend to join, let's begin our session with the recitation of Kitab Al-Fatiha. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah. مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين من المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, I think there will be sequence calling to join after this. The thing, and I'm not going to proceed with the lecture. Let's wait until almost everybody here, then we can proceed. Okay. I think we have been lecturing. I have been lecturing for this course for almost, I think, around 8 or 7 sessions. All right. Okay, okay, and I believe that you have some ideas overall on the importance of this course with regard to the ethics and your role as servant of Allah and Khalifatullah in dealing with the advancement of technology through ICT. Okay, your attitude towards this technology as in position of a Muslim, mu'min, and a Muslim. Okay, as I mentioned many times, you can be anything in this world, but the most important role that you need to play or live upon is how to be a good servant of Allah and vicegerent of Allah, Khalifatullah in this world. Because in these two positions, these two roles will be questioned in the day of judgment. You can be anything in your life. You can involve in any profession that you want, but you must make sure that all those professions actually bringing you on the right track to be a good servant of Allah and the Khalifatullah, vicegerent of Allah. Okay, and today we will continue on the topic of uh, the guiding principles, ethic, privacy, security. Okay, inshallah, we discuss at the slide number 4. Ethics in the information age is very important for you. If when you go for the interview, no, most of the time people will be asking you about your understanding on the ACM code of ethics, your ethics as a future as a IT professional, okay, and how your understanding towards the enactments. We have many enactments nowadays related to digital environment. Okay, and it is starting with 1994 until now. Your understanding towards that and your understanding on the uh, components in the contracts with regard to the ICT procurement. Okay, as you are aware that for Malaysian context, especially in the government, the government is still using the same method when it comes to the ICT through the procurement with the outsourcing. I hope that you understand what is outsourcing and why the government does not use the in-house system development, why, and so forth. Okay, and you also need to understand. Okay, you have learned various topic and subjects related to uh, kuliah required courses, department required courses, and your specialization. Okay, hopefully those courses will help you, will enlighten you on how to function effectively when you are in the industry. Okay, So, for example, for just this is just input I got from my friend from industry. Normally, when you let's say you're in the government, for example, one of your main tasks is to study the existing IT blueprint, either or for your respective ministry or agency, or if you are working in the central agency, Mampu, for example, you need to focus on the national IT blueprint. I believe none of you, if you already read it, if you already made yourself familiar with this blueprint, Alhamdulillah, you are one step ahead from other candidates. But if you're not sure or never heard about the IT blueprint of national IT blueprint, okay, I think better you start looking around from or start to search from the internet, okay, from the Mampu website and other ministry, respective ministry website. It is very important. And also you need to understand what does mean by how to create effective workflows, okay, in your organization, especially related to your core business. Okay, see, and how you as individual could contribute either in terms of your expertise, but also in terms of your attitude. Attitude is something very important. Hopefully, this course will give you some ideas, okay, on how to be a good worker, maintaining your principle. Because why? Your principle is guided with the Iman, Islam, Iman, and Al-Ihsan. I repeat many times. I repeated many times in the previous class on the definition of Muslim, Mu'min, and Muslim. Because why? Because these three actually are the supposed to be our principles when dealing with any advancement of technology that happen in this world. Okay, I think we have 12 for the student, another 6 more. I think we can continue to the what I intend to share with you for today. Okay, for today, we continue from slide number 4, ethics in the information age. I mentioned in previous class about the temptation. Nowadays, we have a lot of temptation. Okay, a lot of exposure, lot of access to the real world, to the world outside via ICT. How to make sure that we are being ethical in dealing with this technology. Okay, for example, in the internet and ethics, there will be a vast amount of information can be accessed through internet. First, you need how to filter it. First, of course, you can say that you need to identify or validate the source uh, of that web, okay, of that portal. Is it who are the main people behind that author, behind that portal? Okay, you have that's one of the challenge for the student nowadays. You are expected to know many things, sometimes outside your comfort zone of your specialty, your specialization. Okay, for example, you know about system development. At the same time, you need to know, for example, about the components of the good contract with regard to the IT procurement in outsourcing environment. Okay, that's why, alhamdulillah, you have internet as a source of information for you to get. But one of the things that with regard to the vast amount of information, those information can be positive or negative, or even the fake. Okay, at the same time, if it happened that you're using the fake news or negative information or fake information, it will affect your reputation, especially when you are working in the government. So this is a thing need to be prudent when dealing with these things. Maybe your generation, you can start from by yourself. Okay, it cannot be done by one person. It must be done by a generation. Okay, how to deal with the fake news, how to deal with negative portals, or how to deal with the vast amount of information which we do not know whether it is true or not. Okay, this thing that. That's why, in order for uh, IT professional to be embedded or comply with ethic in the nowadays, many prominent organizations such as ACM, British Computer Society, come out with their own code of ethics as a reminder for us, so that everybody from whoever graduated either from BCS or BIT, they will have some exposure on this thing, and they will know what are the expectation on them with regard to ICT, with regard to dealing with the ICT, especially when it comes to the spread of news. All right. So, brothers and sisters, just to share with, I already mentioned to you in the previous class, one student WhatsApp me saying that Alhamdulillah, she got employed by the Petronas after, because of she just rely on the notes from this course, because most of the time big organization, they want people who have principle, they want people who can be trusted, they want people who have good ethics, good attitude to be their employees. Okay, they ask a lot about this thing, whether you are familiar with this code of ethics, whether how you see your religion can contribute to your good attitudes whatsoever. These are the suppose the thing that you should have in mind after attending this class for more than 7 sessions. Okay, plus you need to understand that the most important thing you need to mention, if someone asks you how you can become a good ethical, you can be ethical person as an ethic professional. You can say that first, because I'm a Muslim, and then I'm mu'min and I a muhsin, and I'm striving myself to achieve the muhsin. I believe all the 6 pillars of iman, and I did, inshallah, all the routines in the Islam, from shahada until the prayer, fasting, zakah, okay, all stuff. And those stuff, actually, those routines and those iman, belief at tasdiq bil qalbi, you believe with your heart, and al amal bil jawarih, and you practice with your actions. Okay, meaning it guides you to become ethical person in your profession. Okay, for example, with regard to the deliverables, I hope you understand one of your tasks when you work is to ensure you are able to provide deliverables, to deliver the assignments, the output from the task given by your supervisors. If you are Muslim, you know that it is amanah. If you are mu'min, you know that it is amanah will be questioned, because you believe on the day of judgment. You believe that whatever we do in this world, if we cheating in this world, we will be questioned in the day of judgment. Then that's one of the things, that motivation. That's the principle that can use to guide you in this thing. Of course, ACM Code of Ethics, British Computer Society Code of Ethics, it is just universal values. They got nothing to do with the implication. But still, it is important. Maybe for us as a Muslim, we can have another dimension of this ethics by including our faith. Okay, is a Muslim, mu'min, and the Muslim. This is the thing there. Assessment of various professional societies to minimize the potential negative consequences of computer system, including threats to health and safety. Because why? Why? Because this thing, I think that there's Quranic verses. Okay, I think I had it somewhere here. ظهر الفساد في البحر والبر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. I think I said that somewhere, and I'm not too. I do not want to wrongly recite the Quranic verses. Okay, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس ليذيقهم بعض الذي عملوا لعلهم يرجعون. Corruption has appeared on land and sea because of what people's hands have earned, in order to make them taste some of what they have done, so they might return. Meaning that from this ayah, one of the implication, one of the things happening, bad thing happen in our world because of our, it is result, it's a consequence from our actions. Okay, and nowadays you can imagine, as mentioned in the previous class, and many times I mentioned in the previous class about the potential negative impact to our life through ICT. Of course, for the positive, Alhamdulillah, we embrace it. We will embrace all the good things from ICT, but what about the negative? And what about those negative cannot be controlled, become something spread in our society? Of course, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر بما كسبت أيدي الناس. This is the reminder from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala in Surah Ar-Rum, verse 41. The choice depends on user intellectual. Of course, sometimes our intellectuality can be deceitful. We tend, because we have temptation, desire. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. We have been given these two components of our life, of in ourselves, which is the desire to do good things and to do the bad things. If for the bad things, it's the desire, the bad desire, and for the good things, it's iman. For the non-Muslim, it's called the universal values. Okay, intellectual, not alone, cannot ensure, cannot guarantee that we can maintain the goodness in our life. It requires some sort of another dimension, which is the revealed knowledge, which is the revelation from Allah the Almighty. Okay, Alhamdulillah, you're actually, so that's why I'm hoping your generation, your batch will not do anything that can tarnish your reputation as Muslim IT professional when you are working. None of you will be doing things like such as forgery, such as bribery, such as corruption, such as do not comply with the deliverables, do not. Because why? Because we have this thing as a second firewall in our life as a ICT professional. In addition to the code of ethics given by ACM, we have this thing, which is Iman, Islam, Iman, and Al-Ihsan. All right. Okay, this is a thing, that simple thing. It happened to us. Whatever reason it is, okay, it is okay to use private software because we can afford to buy the original one, but it is right to do so. Let's say, forgot, because nowadays you have alternative. You have the alternative from to use open source, for example. Okay, let's say Allah make it, okay, I will forgive you. I will not forgive you unless you get permission, you get try to ask permission, ask forgiveness from the software developer of the software in the day of judgment. You can imagine billions, trillions of people. What will happen to our life? Okay, maybe now we are happy to use it because it is Allah. We are student, of course. But but now Allah said you have alternative. So what are we going to do about that? So ask yourself, okay? And is it the worth for us to waste our time in the day of judgment where almost 1,000 years because of this thing? Maybe for the ACM Code of Ethics is something unacceptable because it is pirated. It requires license. But for us Muslim, we believe another dimension of requirement, which is the faith, our faith in the day of judgment, if you are using this thing. All right. Okay. In the previous class, we discussed about the meaning of illegal but ethical. For example, you are using the pirated software to spread da'wah. It is ethical, of course. But what about the source of your work? It is like stealing other people's. What about if that software developer said, I will not permit anyone to use it unless they buy it. And Rakib Atid rewrite everything. They knows. And it presented to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, and Allah knows that. They will, and ask you, I cannot forgive until you get permission from that software developer. You can imagine how to search. from the trillion of people. This is a thing, something Allah. But Allah is this is a thing that you need to bear in mind. Hopefully, this thing can become something, a firewall for us. Something can prevent us from violate the thing that available from the internet. What is good is not necessarily right. Yeah, this is a thing that uh, you can have your own excuses, but still, if it involves other people, it requires permission, forgiveness from other people. A problem with most of us. What matters most is what we do in front of other people, or what actually can get from such action, and what actually can get from such actions. Okay, that's why maybe from your face social media you portray all the good things. Even you put that salam tahajud. Oh yeah, alhamdulillah. Maybe as a da'wah method of da'wah. Alhamdulillah. But what about in when you are alone? When you have no access to social media, whether you will maintain that routines or not. When you do sadaqah, you put everything in social media so that other people know. Alhamdulillah, for the sake of da'wah, maybe. But what about for the sincerity for the sake of Allah? Okay, this is a thing that should bear in mind. We tend to become a group of people who are accepted by or recognized by the majority of the people, but when we are alone, we don't care about this thing. If different set of ethics, what will happen if someone is located in a room alone with only an internet PC? Of course, you are good in the appearance, okay, but when you have alone with your phone and you are tempted, there's temptation. Okay, temptation to do bad things, for example, online gambling, for example, nowadays. Even the government cannot control it. If you need to have the bank account, and I don't know, I don't know, but I think I never do the research about that. But I was told that you need to have bank account, and then you can play. I don't know how to, but this is a thing that happened. Maybe I don't know. Hopefully, none of us involved in this. But what about we are alone? We are alone in the room, and you know how to do online gambling. You have money in the bank account. Will you do it or not? If you don't do it, meaning that you have some sort of high level of iman in your heart. If you are still doing it, meaning that those iman is still questionable. Of course, al-ihsan far from that, because you fail to sense the existence of Allah in your heart and in your mind. And this is some example, one example. You can utilize this thing to many part of the other of your life. Okay, your routines, your daily routines as a Muslim. The best filter to is iman taqwa in the hardware component of ICT. I'm not going to go further. We have, I think, now already 10 to 4. I'm going to go very fast. Al-Quran Sunnah is one of the things but before we can able to understand Al-Quran Sunnah, we need to know first, at least we need to recite Al-Quran. We need to know where we can find the authentic hadith, the source nowadays. Sunnah.com, for example, where the project funded by the Saudi government, they comprise all the six book of hadith, Bukhari until Ibn Majah, and Muwatta Malik. I think you know about this thing, about that photo. QuranEsra.com. You can read Al-Quran. You can also understand the meaning. Okay, guiding principle, ethics, privacy, security. But anyhow, all these things, if you want to make sure that Al-Quran and Sunnah can become your guiding principle, you need to know your religion. You need to know what is halal, what is haram, what is makruh, what is mandub, what is harus, what is jaiz. Okay, you need to read something. You need to listen from YouTube about, because we cannot understand Al-Quran by ourselves until at least with some guidance from the scholars. Okay, that's why we need to know our religion. Then from that we are able to comply with the ethical. We are able to live our privacy life accordingly, and we do want to breach other people's security, other people's privacy. Because why? Because we have this guiding principle. Okay, you cannot, because Al Quran Sunnah is a raw data. It requires interpretation. Sorry, it requires interpretation from the scholars. And that's why you need to read the books. You need to expose yourself with the right portal, authentic portals with regard to Al Quran Sunnah. Otherwise, you will misunderstand the content of Al Quran because the language is very high, it's very powerful, it's very meaningful, it has a meaning in different contexts. Okay, that's why we need to rely on the al ulama, the scholars. Al ulama'u warathatul anbiya. The scholars are those who inherited something from the prophet. Okay, and of course, after knowing our religion, we need to bear in mind as a guiding principle, we're dealing with the ICT, is that we need to know that whether we are able to to understand our role as Abdullah and Khalifatullah. First, we need to understand we need to strive ourselves to ensure that we are actually the Muslim. We are not the superficial Muslim. We are actually the mu'min, not superficial mu'min. And we are striving our life to achieve the muhsin. Because it's not easy to become the muhsin. You can, I mentioned many times, you can straight away test after this in Salatul Asr, when you Allahu Akbar. Where is your heart? Where is your mind? Okay. What happened? Because in the previous class, I mentioned that we have 24 hours a day, 8 hours for us to rest, 3 hours for us to work, to live our life, to study whatsoever, and we have a balance 8 hours. Okay, how the balance 8 hours can be used to support us to become the Khalifatullah and Abdullah in this world. So ask yourself, how many hours? Of course, 16 hours is already gone. Allah knows. Allah give us 16 hours. Okay, to work, to rest. What about another 8 hours? Are we able to fulfill our role as Khalifatullah and Abdullah from within these 8 hours and the balance 8 hours or not? Ask yourself. Or we just become the Facebook servant, servant of Facebook, or Khalifa, Facebook Khalifa, or what? I'm talking, this is a reminder for me as well. Okay? Because we cannot run away from this thing. We must observe and responsible for all our action and act according to the Sharia. That's why, in order for us to be able to act our life according to Sharia, we need to know what is Sharia. At-tariqah, which is meaning the way of life. They comprise the aqidah, fiqh, and ethics, munakahat, jinayah, muamalah, and so forth. How to do that? You cannot use. We are not ustad, but still you have access to information. At least you know fardu ain, you know fardu kifayah. You know the halal, you know the haram, you know the makruh, you know the mandub, you know the jaiz. That's sufficient. Okay. At least as awam, the layman, we are released from the rule. Okay, that's the Sharia. The use and development of information system must adhere to Islamic laws, ruling, and values. Okay, in a sense, this is all acts must be sacredly guided. Yeah, this is a thing that we need to bear in mind. Hopefully, with our understanding how to become the good Khalifatullah, how to become the good servant of Allah, will help us to guide our life, to live in this world, in this environment of advancement of technology, accordingly. All right. Next, this is the thing that we discussed already in previous class. Okay, here already. Okay. Okay, now we go to the next slide. It is the purpose, ethics in Islam. Innama bu'istu li'utammima makarimal akhlaq. Your akhlaq as a Khalifatullah. Your akhlaq as servant of Allah. How is your akhlaq with regard to spread the harmony to the humankind? Use your social media as example. Are you using the social media to express your frustration to other people? To sometimes you do the character assassination or what? When you receive a news, do you do a tabayun or what? Or you just accept it and spread it? And it, of course, al akhlaq with other, for example, there are many components of akhlaq. You can Google it, akhlaq as a Muslim akhlaq, or you can have a book from Fathiyakan. What does it mean to become a Muslim? Okay, you can read the book about that. There are a lot of things, component, how to become the good character of Muslims. Unfortunately, nowadays there are a lot of many things, many bad things being done by Muslims. Those people who utter shahada, those people who pray 5 times a day. Okay, this is an unfortunate event for us. There are more, you know, that non-Muslims sometimes more disciplined than us in terms of time management, in terms of punctuality, in terms of deliverables, in terms of trustworthiness, in terms of empathy, and so forth. Where is our akhlaq? Okay, so this is a thing that you need to bear in mind because this thing will be questioned in the day of judgment. The most complete of believers iman are those who are best in character. Okay, Sahih at-Tirmizi. Being very much central to Muslim life, values and akhlaq must be incorporated at every point and dimension of ICT. Okay, now you have the social media as a tool. Maybe you can spread the news, spread the good news, spread the message about Islam, spread the at least you, even though you are still struggling to practice those what you convey, but at least you got somewhere. You have friends who can access to your post. Okay, a reminder. Fazakir fa inna zikra tanfa'ul mu'minin. Okay, this is the other one, many Quran. Okay, let's say I'm not going to ask you to discuss what will you do as individual with regard to if you are really ask yourself what will you do if you come across with this situation. You have an iman, you practice a routine as a Muslim, what will you do? Will you change your grade? If you access to the system, suddenly you have access. You know, let's just lock out from the academic system. You surely can manipulate and even change your grade without any problem. What will you do? If you say, meaning that, if you say straight away no, alhamdulillah, meaning that your heart, inna fil jasadi mudghah, إذا صلحت صلح الجسد كله وإذا فسدت فسد الجسد كله ألا هو القلب أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. Inside the human body is a bit of meat. Okay, if it's good to every part of the the human's action, human life. But it ruins everything. It is your heart. So ask yourself, what will you do? Okay, will you do this or will you just ignore it? No, or you will inform, let you look, sir, you forgot to log out. Okay, this is a thing that. So please ask yourself, and if you really have this thing, there is no cheating cases happen in this university. No one will have will everybody will feel guilt or embarrassed or disgust to cheat in the final examination. Okay, that's why for this university, since we bear the name of Islam in our name, the offense of cheating is I can say that it's unforgivable. If you're caught red-handed, you will be expelled from university regardless of your semester. So, brothers and sisters, not only being a Muslim should prevent you to do all this stuff, cheating cases, forgery letter, forgery signature, forgery of signature, whatsoever. You, as the same time, the policy itself should prevent you from thinking to commit this thing. Okay, so this thing, if you still that not, you feel nothing, if you ask yourself, inshallah, I will change. You change it, meaning that there's something wrong somewhere in your iman, in your routines as a Muslim, of course, far from the being al-ihsan. I'm talking this to myself, but alhamdulillah, inshallah, for me, maybe because of the principle, because of egoists, because of the honor I hold in my life, I did not want to. I refuse to. Of course, I will refuse to take any shortcut for my success. I can straight away, no, I will inform the lecturer, look, you forgot to log out, please log out properly. Because this is something become my own personal principle of my life. Okay, but what you will do, that's up to you as your iman. Okay, I'm not going to discuss it, but this is a thing that an example, a reflection of right iman, right Islam, and right ihsan. Different between Islamic and Western ethical standard, they have some similarities in terms of values. Okay, trustworthiness, amanah, honesty, equality, equity, mutual concern, respect, sacrifice, caring, sharing, concern of legality, and so forth. These are some universal values that many Western ethical standards comply with these components. But for us, we have another dimension, which is ethic as a part of our religion, which is Islam. It is part of our belief, which is iman. And it's part of our highest position that we aim to achieve, which is al-ihsan. Okay, this is the thing to bear in mind, brothers and sisters. Okay, privacy. Okay, modern constitution, charters, and international treaties recognize the right of every individual in civilized society. Okay, your right as a civil, as a resident of this country, as a national resident of this country, you have your own right for your privacy. But nowadays, people breach the privacy, the scammers, a lot of things, a lot of spread the news, character assassination, okay, take many things, frames, fitna, and so forth. Of course, you need to understand, you learn, you study, you learn already this thing from other classes, then you know the many definition of privacy. Of course, it is very important. It's Surah Al-Hujurat. Almost we can say that most 195, 99% in the Surah Al-Hujurat actually try to guide us. Okay, and we can use some context in this surah in ICT environment. All right. Privacy, we have laws. We have the Privacy Laws and Acts, Malaysia, 1994, 2000, upgraded. Okay. Generally, it concerns personal information, how your personal information is collected, theft, identity theft, for example. Okay. That's why in the sound system, they have the audit trails. You know what does it mean by audit trails? How it is then used or disclosed. I don't know how last few months I received a lot of SMS from I think I assume I suspect it is a gambling companies because it's mentioned you want to join us, got the money. I think that when it comes to the money, I assume I don't know how they got my number. I mean that is this thing that maybe someone will be working the telecommunication service provider and you become somebody, make sure this thing must stop. Okay, your meaning that there will be there's a employees in that particular company who share the numbers of individuals for marketing purposes to involve in that particular crime. Okay, this is a thing that you need to bear in mind. Okay, privacy in the cyber world. Internet growth has made possible, okay, on each individual, your data, the transaction you do, or from through the online shopping, whatsoever, your profile, okay. If you not be careful, if there's a there's an employee in that particular company, they are able to sell it to other third party to get for the marketing purposes. Okay. Can we talk about privacy if self-revealing of personal information? This is a thing that's something we need to bear in mind. Even though there's a rules and regulation, we have enactment with whatever from the government side, we as individual, okay, sometimes you share your personal information. You forgot to seal it, okay, in term of in our blogs, in our social media, Facebook, and those people who have a bad intention, they will manipulate that. Okay, until you become a profile, one complete profile, then they can manipulate your life easily. And this thing happened because why? Because we are not prudent in dealing with our social media. Okay. If we have used this Islamic standard of ethics, we are not going to have this incident. For example, utilize direct email method by sending unsolicited promotional email without asking people for their permission to receive it. Even SMS. I don't know. This is just I mentioned to you just now. Last month I received a few SMS from I assume it is for gambling companies. Okay. Even they tell me step by step, teach me step by step on how to join their companies. La ilaha illallah. This is a thing that I don't know. Maybe some of you receive it, some of you not. If you are not, Alhamdulillah, meaning that you are protected. Whether by maybe I don't know. But for me, I receive SMS. I don't know how they get my numbers. Okay. High school violated the privacy of other students when they spied on the student by surreptitiously and remotely activated webcams embedded in school issued laptop the student were using at home. This is an example. The incident that happened because people do not respect other people's privacy and they spread it in the web shops, in the website. La ilaha illallah. Nowadays there are many people, many sorry to say pornographic site that portray la ilaha illallah the videos about intimacy action between husband and wife. La ilaha illallah. If they put the video, I was told this is a thing that something I don't know what happened to human population nowadays. Where are their hearts? Where are their principles? Where are their honors? Okay, what how they feel if someone else do it to their daughters or their wife or to themselves? Will they approve it? This is a thing that I think the sickness of our society. Okay, that's why your generation, during your prime time is going to be more challenge. You will face a lot of challenges with regard to this thing. Of course, in Islam, privacy is something related to our life. Hifzul nafs, okay, hifzul mal, all the stuff. Hifzul aql, hifzul ard, okay. Protection of privacy lies at the core of Islamic principles. Okay, life, even there's if you want to, for the hudud law, for example, you cannot go to other people's house and try to find a hole or trying to peek. Cannot. You are breaching the privacy unless the action is done in the public, in the open place. Then that different story. Then you have a right. But if that things, for example, fornication, is conducted inside the very sealed and closed house, it is not the right for the authority to peep or find a hole unless there was a complaint from other people. Then they can have a check it out. But no peeping, no tajassus, okay? Because all these things. If up to that level, Islam protect the privacy. Of course, we have very categories of privacy at home, with the family members, even with the non-Muslim. يا الذين آمنوا لا تدخلوا بيوتا غير بيوتكم حتى تستأنسوا وتسلموا على أهلها. Surah An-Nur, verse 27. O you who believe, enter not houses other than your own until you have asked permission and saluted those in them. وتسلموا على أهلها. Okay, this is an ayah, the next surah, I forgot the ayah. But if you find not anyone therein, then also enter them not without the permission of the honest. If you are told to go back, then go back. This cleaner to you and Allah knows your deeds. An-Nur, the next verses. Up to that level. Okay. Another things that from the Surah An-Nur, with regard to this thing, the privacy between the family members. Okay. Unless with your spouse. Yeah, with your spouse is a different story because you have no aura between your spouse. Okay, with your wife or with your husband, that's different story. But still, as individual, she or he still has a right for his or her privacy. Okay, you need to maintain a good relationship, even though it is a total permission for you to live your life, to have access to every part of their aura, but still, to maintain a good relationship, you need to respect their privacy. All right. Okay, this is another volatile. Just don't pry on our personal spheres. Okay, don't expose ourselves. Okay, there's many ayah you can refer with regard to privacy. Okay, thus every individual is free to make any arrangement in his or her private sphere. Okay, you have as individual. No one can intrude on another individual's property without the owner consent, up to the level to search for the evidence. Okay, invasion privacy give a major impact. This is a thing that I don't know. In some part of it, I quite disagree with the approach by some religious scholar council who knock the door at the night, who peep, knock the door different. If there's a complaint, that different story. But to knock, to peep, and I disagree with some part of it. But for the prevention and nahy anil munkar, I think it is must. But in terms right with the right methodologies. All right. In Surah An-Nur, we do not spy on personal spheres. Wala tajassasu, we do not put our privacy at risk. That's why, especially in our social media, to be prudent. All right. Okay, what about let in future you become you are working in the government and the government intend to promote the DNA databases. Okay, especially when to control the convict during their parole. Okay, those prisoners after release from prison, they want the government to control because they are the rapists, they are the murderers, they are thieves. That's why the government want to make sure that they know where they are. This is another dimension of question you need to be asked yourself. I'm not going to give you the answer because it's up to you. If you feel that it is violating their right, that's your right. You have your own justification. I'm not going to ask you, but this is a thing that maybe in future your company want to do this. You want to involve in this project. Maybe if you feel that it is right, then you can proceed. But if it's not right, better you not to do it. Okay, because of course the database will enable the authority to detect the location, the whereabouts of that particular people, or okay, especially the convicts. Okay. Now we got this another topic with the ICT security. Inshallah, we start at 4:30. No worry about that, regardless of what type of what slide we stop. Issues and ICT security is not isolated from ethical issues in cyber world. Of course, it's something quite widely. That's why I think, if not mistaken, have a look on your kuliah required course. I think you have all department required course. You have the security. Okay. Principles of IT security, CSC2602. Okay, for the computer science student. For BCS, you have the principle of IT security. You know about this thing, about the prevention, how to mechanism to prevent the type of hardware and software to be used, your right as individual with regard to your security and so forth. The management of your ICT security and so forth. Okay. And also we have cyber laws and ethics, INFO4502. Okay. To expose you with the policies, the rules and regulation by the government with regard to this thing. Okay, what type of punishment you can have if you breach these cyber laws. Okay, if we have users with Islamic standard of ethics, we are not going to have this incident, of course, because why we, as mentioned to you just now, you have something, the mechanism in your heart that prevent you to do this thing. Okay, because you know that it is not right, you are breaching, you are. That's why this is the thing that we Muslims should not do it. Okay, because we have another make, not only because of we are afraid to the punishment, we are afraid to the rules and regulation, but we have another dimension in our heart, in our mind, that prevent us from doing this thing. All right, this example. Okay, the incidents. last month, one student from my mahalla, okay, was manipulated by scammers. So, brothers sisters, just a reminder: if you maybe some of you do the online business, okay, and someone approach you through your WhatsApp, want to buy your stuff, your product, but unfortunately they say that they claim that they are from outside Malaysia. If they want to ask you to bank in the account, if regardless of whatever promise they want to make, then it is scam. It happened like this. One of my resident was manipulated with scammers. He involved in online business, and suddenly that scammer claim he from outside Malaysia. He need to clear some part of his check whatsoever online transaction, and suddenly because I don't know how, it's like the pukau, like the hypnotism. Okay, that student give pay first. I don't know. This is a thing that maybe the methodology they learn on how to manipulate other people. So if you heard something is good to be true, your product is, for example, you sell it at 100 and someone want to buy it 500 ringgit, 5 times, 4 times profit. Okay, but before they can pay you, you need to pay them something. You need to do do the online transaction. Then it is a scammer straight away. Ignore it or remove it or block it. It happened in real. It requires me to, because this student is not the coming from middle class student. He lost almost 8,400 ringgit from his saving account. It requires me to collect some donation to help to at least to alleviate the burdens of that student. So, brothers and sisters, please bear in mind, if you come across with any request from unknown person to buy your product, to whatever, then it is a scammers. It is a spam. It is a scammers. So avoid that, especially when it is good to be true. All right. Now, the to reduce risk of combination of technical and non-technical approach essential. You know about this thing. That's your stuff. You already learned about the principle of IT security. You know how to manage it from the procedures, mechanism, from your preparation, from the knowledge, technical or non-technical, and so forth. Okay. These are, for example, indirect indicators from Al-Quran about the firewalls, about the importance to prevention, to protect ourselves, all this stuff in Surah Al-Kahf. Okay, but of course, because why? Because Al-Quran is they provide some, most of the time is indirect indicators with regard to the technologies. Okay, we need to understand the context. We need to understand the purpose, asbabun nuzul, and then we can apply to the ICT environment. Okay, another hadith from narrated by Al-Bayhaqi: it is prohibited to date Muslim well without his complete permission. It's not for having a look. You can have a look inside other people's personal property if they don't allow you. The computer is on the property. So, brothers and sisters, be careful nowadays. The virtual, once, for example, they can control your PC, okay, through the virtual tool or application is available. Okay. Need for technical, non-technical approaches. The example, I'm going to elaborate on that. ICT has, this is the reality, dilemma, and need. ICT has created a host of potentially new misuse. Of course, there are a lot of technical thing that you can do to commit this thing. Okay, because you actually, even though you have a firewall, you have all the security measurements to prevent other people from breaching your IP address whatsoever, or your desktop or your laptop, but still you are in the big highway, big neighborhood of IT, of data. Okay, they can the cracker or hacker still can find the ways and methods to bridge to your system. Okay. Of course, draw a number. This is cyber laws, risk assessment. I'm not going to go further about this thing. Almost 40. The human behavior. Just I want to talk about human behavior because now we are talking about human behavior. We talk about the principle. We talk about the inner part of our life, which is our iman, which is our ihsan, which is our al-Islam, iman, and al-ihsan. So what about when we are in war? That's a different story. Let's say we have a war with other bad people. That different story. You are actually fighting for that particular war, and you have need to do any means to win the war. That different story. But now for the normal civilians to just to breach other people computer, then that is totally unethical. And I hope that none of my students will do it, okay, in future, because it is totally unacceptable. If you go to the article, there's some thing related to this thing. Privacy, they're from hadith, okay, with regard to privacy, and also with regard to the trust. Okay, you can read your article. There was article from this author, Al-Ali, 2007. Okay, and also the theft. Okay, you can, this is the one of the thing that you can read by yourself, try to understand the content of this article so that you will have more understanding towards the ethics and privacy, the guiding principle in ethics and privacy, the promise, okay, and also the proposed Islamic computer crime law address the universe before the crime is committed, and hence it's more prevention than a cure. Okay, because there's most of the, if you come to the, if you are let's say that person is caught by the authority, the only punishment he deserves is a ta'zir. There's no hudud, there's no qisas for that, unless the breach of the other people's privacy lead to the fatal effect. That's a different story. But if it's just a breaching, the only thing the qadi can do is to give the ta'zir punishment. That's all. Okay. In conclusion, alhamdulillah, we managed to shorten because this thing already discussed in the previous class and also available in the article. I hope that when you review the article, you will see all this thing, and also the articles very important. Okay, for you to read all the articles which I upload the iTalim, so can you have the ideas. Okay, must promote the idea of living together. Yeah, this is the thing that, as conclusion, if every individuals on the face of earth has this feeling, inshallah, we're going to live in the proper way, in a better life. Maybe we need the world needs Imam Al Mahdi to appear and guide and lead this world. Then that different story. Maybe Imam Mahdi will remove all the bad guys, all the gangsters, all the scammers, all the hackers and crackers, because it is a power of Allah and so forth. But now it is almost impossible. It is something require personal and individual prudent action to prevent this thing from happening. Okay, and of course, we as a Muslim, as a professional, should not find so much of conflict to adapt to Islamic values and ethics, because we know that whatever we do in this world will have consequences in the day of judgment, and those punishment, those consequences will be forever. Khalidina fiha abada, which you cannot imagine. How long is it? Very, very long. Okay. I think Alhamdulillah, we managed to finish today class in the, I don't know, hopefully none of you, you got something from this class. Okay. I'm thinking to have our uh, case study or PBL, problem-based learning or case study. I'm thinking maybe I'm drafting a question now. Do you want after the mid break or the before the mid break, brothers and sisters? I give you the open. Anyone?
After.
After, okay. I will inform
For me before.
you before,
For
okay.
me before as well, sir.
Okay, maybe we can discuss. You can put who would prefer before the mid break, who want to after the mid break. You can discuss. Put the name there, then I will decide. Okay, I think that's all from me. For those who just joined and you forgot to write down your name in the chat section, please do it now. Okay. I think that's all. Is there any question? Okay, I think